Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Let's share with you what our top stories on the front pages of the newspapers are. And joining us to review these headlines is Public Affairs Analyst Dotun Ojon. Good morning. Good to have you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning.
It's nice.
Is there something that you're forgetting?
I don't know.
Are you sure? Okay. Have you really wished the only woman on this set happy International Women's Month?
Oh, okay. So because I did that for a lot of women yesterday, I forgot. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you very much.
And I wish you all the best.
Passed?
It has never passed. No, it will never pass.
You know, all through the month, we have to be conscious about that.
Yes.
No, so the truth is, because it happened on Saturday, some people will celebrate today, some organizations will celebrate today, some celebrated yesterday, some will celebrate tomorrow. Really, all through the month, people are just going to have events to commemorate, you know. And do you think from what we're doing so far that we're representing the interest of women as much as we should?
Absolutely. And I think that women, particularly in Nigeria, have begun to shatter the cultural constraints that held their predecessors back. And particularly if you look at the media space that you belong to, most of the biggest media empires in Nigeria today are headed by women. And in boardrooms, you see a lot of names that are coming up. And I think this is going to be some kind of encouragement for people. I have taught guests before on the need why they have to be out to represent a generation. And I think we have enough mentorship for them now, and I'm so glad about that.
Thank you very much.
There's still a lot to be done.
So much to do. Yeah. Anyway, we'll look into this much later. I'm sure that the papers will give us an issue regarding women to speak about. But let's start with our first paper this morning. On the front page of the Punch newspaper, budget ultimatum, pro-Wike lawmakers give condition to meet Fubara. Lawmakers allege improper letter service, ousted local government chairman, mock governor. So a number of the arguments is that the letter was not even signed by the governor. He did not respect them enough to sign the letter himself. It was signed by his secretary. 4,111 convictions secured, over 364.5 billion naira recovered in 2024, says the EFCC. El-Rufai meets Aregbesola Bakari as ex-governor deepens consultation. Diphtheria, Lagos meets WHO and NCDC over outbreak in school. We are back there again. Man flees as girlfriend found dead in Lagos apartment. Oof. Federal government under fire over plans to import Europe waste. Okay. Petrol imports jump 105% to 15 trillion naira, according to NBS report.
How is that possible? With Dangote saying they can meet Nigeria's...
I think that was 2024.
Okay, no, so it's not updated.
Yes.
All right. System glitch. U.S. Embassy to reschedule visa interview. Saraki, Serap tackle Akpabio over Natasha suspension. And South Congress deepens PDP crisis as NWC Wike camp clash. Let's take another paper and then we'll get into the analysis.
Okay, let's look at what paper do we have next. The Tribune newspaper. Saraki, the headline says, Natasha. Saraki cautions Akpabio. The writer says, advises him not to politicize, trivialize call for due process in the Senate. Sound advice, if you ask me. Rescind suspension of Kogi lawmaker or face illegal action. Serap tells Akpabio. In 15 years, all lawmakers suspended by National Assembly, state assemblies reinstated by court, says Femi Falana. If Senator Apotu Dragon is reading this, I should give her some sort of hope. Fubara invites Amewule 25 other lawmakers for meeting over Supreme Court judgment. Our Foundation webinar, Africa Experiencing Complex Evolving Challenges Must Take Destiny in Own Hands, says the speakers of that conference. We also have importers to pay more as shipping companies increase charges. Everybody's increasing charges for everything these days. I guess, Olive, we should see management also increase our own charges.
I think it's very important. HR is taking notes.
Monetary recoveries funding Nigeria's education loan, says EFCC. PDP to hold Southwest and South-South North Central Zonal Congress on April the 12th. Catholic bishops decry worsening security and economic hardship, and Abacha family rejects Babangida's claim on June 12 annulment, 15 killed in Benue community. That's the Tribune.
All right. Let's start with River State, as we, let's go through what's happening in River State. Pro-Wike lawmakers have given the condition to meet Fubara. Fubara has asked for them to meet with him. They're saying, he didn't sign the letter. They're saying that he should have appeared and represented the budget first before talking about a meeting. And some might just say, this meeting after death. Let's get your thoughts.
Okay, I'm just going to start the way I started last week, and I told you that the politics of Rivers is owned by Wike. The people of Rivers seem to be in support of Fubara. And I said it to you last week, if you remember, that anytime there's a contest between the politics of a community and the people, the politics always triumph. And, but most importantly, this takes us to our leadership recruitment process and the process of installation. We have seen over the years that when somebody serves for 2 years, 2 tenures as governor, there's always this urge to always want to install somebody. And a successor. And we have seen it in the Nigerian way that has not been working well. In fact, a man who is now our president, who is reputed to be a great man when it comes to political talent hunting.
A kingmaker.
A kingmaker. Political talent hunting, political talent placing, and political talent displacing, as the case may be. Also had problem with his deputy. The man that came his successor, Fashola, they had a bit of issue. Ambode came. It shows that we must begin to redefine our leadership recruitment process, installation process. And what do I mean? When we give the people an opportunity to choose who leads them, we have taken pressure away from the polity. And one thing I have noticed about people always wanting to install somebody to come after them is that after leaving office, they always want the part of governance process to pass through their parlor. They want the train of governance to always taxi at their table. They always want to have an input in the process of government.
So how do we free ourselves from the shackles and manacles?
You see, when you get to a point where people think they are completely helpless, then it's a political tragedy. And that's exactly what has happened in Nigeria. When you ask people on the street, have you voted? Do you have a voter's card? The response has always been that, oh, even if I vote, my vote will not count. In fact, I want to remind us that it's a deliberate construct to make the people believe that they do not have a say. And one of the things that I will credit Peter Obi for, I'm not his fan, but one of the things that I will credit him for is the ability to return belief to a certain group of people who came out in 2023 and they were hopeful that they could take their destiny in their hand and change the direction of governance. If those people had not come out, we would not have known that anybody in Nigeria could defeat Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Lagos. So it's about the people coming out to say, at this point in time, we want to be part of the political process. It's always alarming after each election that I've been part of, and we sit back in the boardroom to analyze how many people vote. In a community of 3 million people, about 150,000 people will go and vote. In a community of 250 million people, 25 million people will go out and vote.
Right.
And at the end of the day,
just hold your thoughts for a few
control.
seconds. We have to go on a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion. Stay with us. Back to breakfast headlines, and we're currently reviewing the newspapers. Remember, we like to keep things interactive here on News Central. We value your contributions. So you can see the phone numbers displayed on your screen. Feel free to call in and share your thoughts on any of the newspaper headlines we shared with you. Now, Dotun, before we went on the break, we were talking about the need to change the mindset from Babasope politics to and Godfatherism to making the people's vote count.
So now, I have to also quickly, so that people don't misunderstand the fact that there's nothing wrong in Godfatherism. There's nothing wrong in it. In fact, let me explain to you the concept of Godfatherism. The real essence of Godfatherism is the fact that you enter an organization and you have a mentor who mentors you through the process and the practice in that organization. In fact, in religious practice, they have fathers that they refer to for the essence of correction. This man has gone ahead of you. What is wrong in our own system is that when you now have a political godson in Catholicism, if you want to get married, you have to bring a godfather, a man who has example, exemplary lifestyle in terms of marriage, who you will be able to pattern your life after. And at the end of the day, if there are minor crises at the beginning of your marriage, it's a man you revert to. So there's nothing wrong about the concept. What is wrong about our own is what I explained to you, that if I'm supposed to mentor somebody, and I think the best way to mentor somebody is to take the money of the government. That is not mentoring, that is stealing. Unfortunately, that's
or
what
acting
a lot
like
of,
you're the government.
yes, you understand. And in fact, there's one concept of leadership that I've been pushing and I wanted to make popular. It's the concept of living. People don't understand that living is leadership. And I gave an example here. Mandela suffered for his country emancipation, went to prison for close to 30 years. And he came back and he said he was just going to do one term. If he had done 2 terms, he would have rubbished all his achievements. What am I trying to say? Living is leadership. Knowing how to look away from the process of governance. Having said that, Rivers State has come to a point now where we should not continue to debate who is right or wrong. And we must lay emphasis on the fact that the concept of democracy is the concept of legislature. In fact, what differentiates democracy from the military rule that we've had all over the years is the fact that in military rule, there's executive, there's judiciary, no legislature. So that tells you that the symbol of democracy, as it were, is the legislature. So the governor, I appreciate the fact, and for those people who are saying, Olive raised that point, that the governor should have, the person that signed the letter is not the secretary of the governor. It is the secretary to the government of Rivers State. And it's in the right position. We are not talking about maybe the personal aid of the governor. The secretary to the government is not a personal aid. It's a constitutional person that has the right to send such a letter. So it does not diminish anybody. But I just think that because when Fubara seemed to have upper hand, people, the body language of people was that, in fact, there was a song that was popular in Rivers. I don't know how they composed it, but it has to do with if you don't have SIM, you won't have network. And that's talking about how important SIM Fubara is. It's very popular with the people. I just returned from there. But again, they've got to a point where everybody needs to align for the sake of democracy. Government is very important. I said to people that the concept of governance or government is the concept of God. The concept of God is doing for the people what they cannot do for themselves.
Right.
But the concept of governance is the same thing.
This Amuele group, the speakers, can they act independently of whoever is pulling the strings?
All right, before you respond, let's quickly take Tony Eze's call from Benue. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Well, I want to speak on Riverina crisis. The truth of the matter is that Fubara is in trouble right now. And there is nothing he will do that those people won't complain. Yesterday, the person that is complaining that is not supposed to be secretary of the state, that are supposed to invite those people, that governor is supposed to do it. Even though governor invites those people, they will say, why now? So Fubara is in problem, but it's only God that will see him through. But this thing, with this judgment that Supreme Court has given, put so many people in low spirits that when you have a problem and you go to court,
Right.
that is either try and luck there, that if you have luck, you win. If you don't have luck, you face this thing. And justice doesn't supposed to be so. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for calling.
You know, there are some songs ordinarily that you can play in your house. But when you begin to have problem with your co-tenant, then you can't play such song. Because once there's a fight, once there's a fight in the community, you begin to read meanings to all the details. And I think that's exactly what is happening. And we must get to a point where we should understand that anything that will debar democracy from offering dividends to the people should be avoided. Because the essence of all of this, and I want power, you want power, is for us to be able to give the people the dividend of democracy.
And to call a spade, one of the reasons why people don't get the benefit of dividends of democracy is because of this Godfatherism. They wrong at the negative side of it. You look at Lagos, for example, just a few weeks ago, a man was accused of high-level corruption, abuse of office, and then we saw some calls were made and then people pulling the strings. And all of a sudden, all of the sins have been washed away with the magical APC broom. And we're seeing what's happening in Rivers State. Now, do you think these 27 lawmakers will act independently? I'll come back to you on this question after we take this call from Chude from Berger.
Good morning, Chidi. Please go ahead with your comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. Okay. On the issue of the Rivers State governor, you see, I am not a lawyer, but what I want to say is that the judgment of the Supreme Court has added more, has expanded the injury more. Even though it's the apex thought, fine and good, but look at what we are facing. Like your guest said, there is nothing that Fubara will do that will be good on this earth. Because they are bent on destroying him from with the minister of the Federal Capital Territory Abuja. He can't succeed him. And the man has proven to be a peacemaker by even summoning the courage to talk to them, to deal with them, to implement the judgment of the Supreme Court. Is a kudos to him. Right. I also want to talk about what I saw in this one, the other one, Abacha family and Ibrahim Babangida by his issue. You see, when you want to do something, do it at the right time. Babangida is doing it behind those people that were actively involved when that had happened. Among the dead, who will come and talk? Who will come and give his or her own story? We are only hearing from Babangida. We are not hearing from Abacha. We are not hearing from MKO Abiola. For me, those things the man said, I said it earlier before. What Babangida said was, he mesmerized the whole thing. He could have kept quiet. Right. You have started keeping quiet. Keep quiet all along. And let this matter die just like that. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Chidi, for sharing your thoughts.
Now, I want you to pick up from, I was going to ask you, this 27 lawmakers, they were acting independently. Okay, so, and in the interest of the people, ordinary people of Rivers State.
So politics is actually bigger and deeper than conversations on television. One of the things that people don't know is that first, is that the people are more powerful than the Godfather. That's number one. But the work that the Godfather does is more strategic than what the people do. What do I mean? To win election today in Nigeria, I've run for office, and I have a fair idea, and I've executed big campaigns. And I have an idea for you to become a governor of your state today as we speak. Now, on the day of election, alone, you need like 5 billion naira. On the day of election, alone, you need like 5 billion. Where do these people get this money from? There are people behind the scene who fund, who sponsor. Now, the Rivers State government had not paid the salary of all these 27 lawmakers we are talking about for a period of time, but they've been living. When they pass through their street, they still call them honorable, Babarere, Babake, and they still drop money. Where do they get all the funds from? So what our system has been able to do is to have built few powerful individuals who have control over mechanism of politics. And because of the control they have, they can decide who becomes what. So nobody, as it were now, or as it is, none of the 27 lawmakers will be able to act independently because they owe whatever it is that they became. You were talking about Lagos State the other time, and I was just smiling. Quickly, if you allow me to say that, none of the lawmakers today in Lagos have the right to complain about what happened. You know why? Because how did they become what they became? It was a process that brought them out, and remember, that same process has silenced a lot of people. Right. So if the system is coming back to you to say, at this point in time, you err, you should not have suspended this person, then you must keep quiet.
Let's quickly talk about...
You don't talk.
we were out of time. If we can do in 1 minute. Natasha Akpabio, Serap has asked that, they should recall her suspension. Do you see that happen?
And also the Bukola Saraki angle as a former Senate president.
And he's saying that he's off. Joinunia will hear from his lawyers as well.
So now, this is the first time that we are having a Senate president preside over a matter that is directly accused him. And for me, I'm a bit not comfortable. For example, if you are in the private sector, things like this cannot happen in the private sector. You can't accuse that your manager is making advances at you, and the organization will set up a committee. Perhaps after this thing, they will now bring the paper to the manager to be the final authority. It will not happen. So one of the things that they will have done to communicate seriousness, and it's not about whether somebody did something or not, but we are just saying that for once, let people see us as a serious-minded people. When you carry the Nigerian passport, let them see you across board, that you have a serious-minded government. And you remember, there was something that happened about 3 weeks ago, corruption index. When we scored 26 out of 100, we were placed at 144th out of 180. And I was having a conversation, and I told them that it's not about the corruption we perpetrated. It's about the perception. So when you want your nation to be given a seat in the Committee of Nations, when you want Nigeria to speak and everybody should listen, all of these little things matter. You cannot sit as a judge in a matter that you are accused of.
Nemo Judex in Kosaswa. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you.